A secret press conference was held in Bend, Oregon, where the government released their findings in regards to the LaVoy Finicum death results. And of course, the government found that their law enforcement agencies acted within the law and their actions were justified. Now, this secret press conference was invite only, RSVP, and the location of this press conference was withheld until 2 hours before the press conference began. And of course, hand-picked mainstream media were the only ones invited. In other words, this was a very controlled environment. They knew who was going to be there and what questions they were going to ask, and they could rest assured that there would be no hardball questions. Some very interesting information did come out of this press conference. The 5 FBI hostage rescue team, or HRT team, or as I like to call them, HURT team agents, are currently under investigation for alleged misconduct during and after the roadblock / ambush / kill box, as it's been referred to. Investigators were able to account for the 6 shots that were fired by the Oregon State Police, 3 of them hitting the vehicle here, here, and here, as well as the 3 shots that hit and killed LaVoy Finicum. But they could not account for this 4th round into the vehicle here. Now, this one came out later, was fired by an FBI HURT team agent. During the course of the investigation, these FBI HURT agents were interviewed as far as what went down. Now, these agents are suspected of lying about firing twice at the vehicle as soon as LaVoy Finicum jumped out of his truck. 2 shots rang out. Bam, bam. One of those going through the roof of the vehicle and shattering the rear passenger window right next to Ryan Bundy. Now, apparently, all 5 agents that were there are not talking about this. They did not admit to firing their weapons at all, and they're covering up. They're covering it for each other, basically. So at this point in time, the FBI is going to be investigated by the Department of Justice. So essentially, it's going to be the federal government investigating the federal government. How do you think that that's going to turn out? Well, let's take a quick look at history, shall we? Here we have Lon Horiuchi, the infamous FBI HURT sniper who was at Ruby Ridge and Waco. Now, this guy shot and killed an unarmed woman holding a 10-month-old baby in Ruby Ridge. And while he was in Waco, he was the agent in charge of Sierra 4 sniper position for the FBI hostage rescue team, where spent shell casings were found. Now, Horiuchi was charged with manslaughter for the death of Vicki Weaver at Ruby Ridge, but those charges were later dropped. And if you look at this, they are trying to blame the Oklahoma City bombing on American militiamen in retaliation for the events that took place at Ruby Ridge. So, can you see where this is going? How they're going to use this against the patriots, against the people? Taking a behind-the-scenes look at the events that led up to this arrest of the leaders, as well as the death of LaVoy Finicum, we see a mayor and council email addressed to interested parties from Richard Elmer, who is claiming to be a co-owner of the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. In the CCs, we see some interesting people such as Sheriff Dave Ward, Judge Steve Gratzy, and others. This basically goes on to demand that Oregon Governor Kate Brown and Special Agent in Charge Greg Bretzing take immediate action to take out the so-called domestic terrorists. And the Oregon Governor Kate Brown did reach out to both President Obama and leaders in the federal government and asked for a stronger federal presence and response to the armed takeover of the wildlife refuge. Now, in an attempt to be transparent, the Oregon governor released the Malheur Occupation Communications, which entails more than 1,000 pages of emails and texts. And as you can see in this text message on Friday, January 22nd, Governor Kate Brown states that she just got a message from Valerie Jarrett, who has been referred to as Obama's handler. So you can see that the governor of Oregon was in regular communications with the White House throughout this ordeal. One thing else I'd like to point out is if there were to be any other information that they were withholding, it would be very damning and could potentially expose a massive cover-up going all the way up to the highest levels of government. So if anyone out there does have this information, it needs to see the light of day. In addition to the Department of Justice ongoing investigation into the FBI agents on the scene at the roadblock who discharged their weapons at least 2 times, striking the truck once, neither shot is being reported as hitting LaVoy Finicum, but it appears those agents have attempted to cover up their actions that day. Oregon State Police stated that 2 of their officers fired 3 shots, hitting LaVoy Finicum, where you can see here. They state that this lower shot migrated upwards through his body and hit his heart. So at this point, we know that this roadblock and this whole operation was planned in advance. They had time to prep the locations, to scout the locations, cut and trim trees, but we're to believe they do not have body cam footage, that there's no dash cam footage, just the aerial footage and then the footage that Miss Cox took from inside the vehicle. I'm going to leave a link for Dabu7's J Knight channel, his backup channel, where he uploaded the Shauna Cox footage from inside of LaVoy Finicum's truck that day on the 26th. I'm also going to leave a link here for Boiling Frog's post, where Peter B. Collins had Sibel Edmonds and Todd McFarland on. Todd McFarland is the former attorney for the Finicum family, and they discuss some very interesting aspects of this case and what appears to be potential provocation and antagonizement by law enforcement. At this point, there are many unanswered questions. Why did they have to take them before these men reached Grant County? Why was it so important to prevent these men from meeting and speaking with the people in Grant County and meeting with the sheriff there, Glenn Palmer? It appears that they tried to do everything in their power to prevent them from reaching that destination. Why not set up a roadblock on the way back, preventing them from going back to the refuge? There was no warrants for these men issued. They were allowed to freely come and go throughout this whole ordeal. Why is Deschutes County leading this investigation? I will leave links, and I'll be doing more updates soon. Till next time, this is Spiro.